There are several products that I use on my model railroad that I use frequently that I really, really love. And I know sometimes people want to know what to use to achieve what result. And today I'm going to talk about some of my favorite products to use on coffee and trains. Welcome everybody to another edition of Coffee and Trains. Before we begin, I am drinking Hunter Brothers Guatemala Antigua. It is a local brew out of Elwood City, Pennsylvania. And as always, I take it black with 2 sugars. So today I wanted to talk about some of the products that I use frequently when I'm constructing my model railroad, some things that I get a lot of questions about what I use, and your answers would be scattered all over the 200 and some odd videos that I've done on this channel. And I want to kind of make a place where you guys can just go to one video and see products that I use a lot. So let's get started. First product I'm going to talk about, you see everywhere right here, and that is extruded foam. Now this is a little tiny block that I cut out of a larger section that I've been using to build this particular section of the layout. This is 1/2 inch. Where I am, you can get it all the way up down from 1/2 inch all the way up to about 2 inches thick. And this is some great stuff, mainly because it's very easy to cut and shape without any special tools other than a cutting tool. You don't need any power tools or anything like that. And it's pretty rigid. You can see like it doesn't have a lot of flex. Now, if you put enough weight on it or if you have enough surface area, it's going to flex, but this is some really good building material. You can see I have it layered right here, and it's got a little bit of flex, but it's a really solid building material. And because it's so easy to customize, I really love doing bases for scenery and bases for layouts with this stuff. It also helps in dampening the noise from a layout versus running it on wood. So you do have to consider a few things, like with any foam that you're cutting. If you're cutting this with a hot wire foam cutter, you have to worry about fumes. So do it in a well ventilated area, and like any other foam product, there is a flammable issue if you expose it to too much flame or heat. But overall, it's insulating foam. You can find this at your local hardware store like Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards or something like that. It's just a really, really great solid building material, and I really, really love it. Sticking with the hardware store, my glue that I use to glue everything together is just simple latex caulk. Now I have it in a caulk gun right here, but it comes in these tubes right here if you've never used it before. I know a lot of people use things like liquid nails and everything, but if you're willing to wait overnight to let this stuff dry in place and you weigh it down really well, you get a really, really solid hold with this kind of stuff. I've used this to hold down the sections of my foam here. I've used it to install track. I've used it to install just about everything right here. And like I said, you got plenty of working time because it does take a while to dry. And once it dries, it's pretty solid, but it can still be pulled apart. So it's kind of a best of both worlds here. And these tubes are like under $5, so a lot of times under $4 for a tube like this. So it's a really inexpensive way to get a glue for gluing down base things like this. And you just have to be careful because it is white and it's going to dry white. And once it dries, you're not going to be able to get that color out of what you dried it on. So if you're doing something like me where you're using Cotter Unitrack, you do have to be careful. But latex caulk is one of my favorite adhesives in model railroading. Last thing I'm going to show you from the hardware store, even though you can get this other places, is spray paint. Spray paint is how I do a lot of my painting. Matter of fact, the vast majority of my basic painting. I do some brush work, but spray paint is a godsend, especially if you're doing 3D printed models like I am. This stuff just seems to stick a lot better than model paint and is easier to work with versus acrylic paint. Yes, you can also do airbrush, but you also have to have an airbrush to do that. So this is kind of, if you want the airbrush effect and look without buying an airbrush, spray paint is really the way to go. And you can do a lot with this stuff. While I've never tried this, I've definitely seen techniques where people weather track with spray paint. Obviously, I paint buildings with spray paint. It is a very easy to use product so long as you're masking things off and you're doing things like that to get some great results with even paint coats and things like that versus brushes. So spray paint is one of my favorite ways to paint in model railroading. Switching from the hardware store to the craft store, it is hot glue. Hot glue is an amazing adhesive for model railroading. It's kind of an all-purpose adhesive. You can glue just about anything down for model railroading with this. As a matter of fact, I'm about to use it as I'm starting constructing my mountain framework in the back that you can see right there. But hot glue is really great. Obviously, it gets hot, so you gotta be careful about touching it. But once it's there in place, it's really, really solid. But also, if you need to remove it, it does have the capability to be removed, unlike a lot of glues. So this is just some really, really great stuff. Another great thing about it is that it is not electrically conductive at all. It's quite insulating, and you can use it to, I use it to hold some circuit boards and Arduinos in place in certain places. You'll actually, sometimes when you pull electronic parts open, like I've seen this a lot in the 3D printers I've been working on, they actually use hot glue to hold a lot of connections in place. So hot glue is a very, very versatile adhesive for model railroading because you can use it for a lot of things, including electrical components. So I really, really love using hot glue on my model railroad. Next up from the cooking supplies section, it is bamboo skewers. Now these have several uses. I'll tell you the number one use that I use these for. These are great, and I mean great, for uncoupling cars without having to take them off the track. These have a very, very fine point, and they are able to get right in there and wiggle the couplers free, and it makes it very easy when you're doing operations. Some other great things for you is these are great at punching holes for installing things like trees, and as a matter of fact, if you paint them and you detail them right, you're also going to be able to make trees out of this. So bamboo skewers are kind of a good hybrid product. You can use them for a utility like you're doing while you're making where you're uncoupling cars. You can use them for installing scenery, and you can use them for scenery themselves. They're a really, really good, solid product, and they're really, really cheap too. This was, I think this was $1 or $2, and this is 100 skewers. So this is a really, really great product to use in model railroading, and I see a lot of people using these. The last two products I'm going to talk about are scenery products, and the first I'm going to talk about is this Scenic express scale ballast, fine natural soil and dirt with natural stone aggregate. Now, this is some fantastic, realistic looking dirt. I have used this I use this on MRR1. I use this on the most recent T-Track module, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, one big thing that a lot of people, when they first get started into model railroading, like when they try to do their ground cover and everything, they'll usually sometimes do they'll paint the base, and then they'll just go straight to putting green and foliage and things like that. One thing that can make it look a lot more realistic and help you out is putting a dirt base on here. Now, you've also seen me years ago make my own scenic material dirt from dirt in the backyard. I'll put a link to that right up here. That's a very old video, but I've since been using a lot of this, mainly because I moved into a smaller yard that doesn't have a place to dig up dirt. But this stuff is absolutely fantastic, and I actually need to buy more. You can see that I'm almost out here, so I need to buy more before I really start working on this layout with scenery. But this stuff is a go-to for me for really quick, great results for when I'm putting in my ground cover, because this is just a fantastic base to put all of your foliage and your foam turf and everything on. So express scale ballast from Scenic Express, they're fine natural soil and dirt. This stuff is awesome. My last product is a detail product, and it is these signs from Tichy Train Group. These are the kind of things, these are absolutely amazing, but if you're first starting out in the hobby, you may have never heard of Tichy Train Group. They do a lot of detailed things like these signs, and these are absolutely fantastic signs. If you've ever bought a starter kit or starter set for model railroading and you get the signs that are in there, they're either yellow or white. They don't have a ton of detail with them. Yes, they have some stuff printed on them, but they're not very realistic. Tichy Train Group makes some extremely realistic signs. I'll just go with some of the ones that I have right here. These are the railroad crossing crossbucks right here. Let's see here. You have some speed limit signs right here. Let's see here, one-way and do not pass and handicap parking signs where the actual handicapping is painted into blue on the white sign. There's a bunch of different ones here, and these are all for the North American road markings right here. But we got a bunch of no parking signs right here. We got divided highway begins and keep left and keep right signs. Got some more speed limit signs, and then I got some actual red stop signs right here. So these are just really great, and these are just something that take a factor out of making your layout look better and everything. You can just get these signs. They're not expensive, and you can just slap them on your layout, maybe add a little bit of paint to the base to make it look slightly more realistic. But these signs from Tichy Train Group I absolutely love, and I'm going to keep buying them because they make your layout look amazing. So those are some of my favorite products right there. I have a lot of favorite products, but those are some ones that I use a lot. And a lot of those are just available just about anywhere with the exception of a couple of the scenery products. And I'll link everything in the description below. But thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me what your favorite products are. You can put those in the comments below. You can also tell me what coffees you're drinking in the comments below. Speaking of that, let's get to what coffees you guys are drinking. David Falkenberg is drinking a Chameleon cold brew on ice. I do love a good cold brew. Charles McClure is drinking Pilot's medium blend coffee with 2 Splendas and powdered non-dairy creamer. Last but certainly not least, I know many of you know who this is, Luke Towan from the Boulder Creek Railroad. If you haven't checked out his channel, just search Luke Towan. He has a fantastic modeling channel, probably the best out there in terms of doing scenery for models and model railroading and things like that. Luke Towan says that he is drinking good quality coffee from the local coffee shop, but he's also fine with some Robert Tim's instant coffee, black with no sugar. So thank you guys so much for watching. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. They're listed right here. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. A lot of cool behind the scenes stuff. They get to see stuff in advance as well. And if you're at the $5 a month level, you get a model to 3D print yourself every month. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee. Happy railroading.